One of the most fascinating revelations many young men have to endure is when women keep on choosing older and more mature men ahead of them when it comes to seeking a mate. You see, women gravitate more toward these traits as they grow older, and this leaves many young men in awe of how this happens. Fortunately, biology and psychology provide some insight into why women tend to choose partners that are older than themselves. In fact, there are even a couple of tricks you can learn from older men that will immediately make you stand out. Let's find out how you can also seem far more mature than your age might suggest.
Fearlessforge.
Number 1. Living life by their own rules. Starting hot here, but one of the biggest factors that often attracts women is how a man's life is structured. If he's dependent on others, she'll realize this, and it often makes him seem like he doesn't have control over everything. Women desire a man who lives life by his own rules and often depends on himself. This shows that he's trustworthy and will ensure the survival of the family. So focus on improving your independence and stability, and women will think about you non-stop for being so unique. Number 2. They don't engage in games. Women are naturally inclined to play mind games, and they often love testing men to see if they're the real deal. These tests aim to figure out if the man has any weaknesses, which more often than not will give her control over the relationship, and she might eventually walk away. Older men know that these games are often temporary, and if you simply ignore them, it'll leave her with even more questions than answers. Yes, you want her to have questions, as these will build up and become something of an obsession for women. In essence, if she can't figure you out and you don't play along with her games, which should have revealed your weaknesses, you become an enigma. Older men have realized this, and it's often what they use to make women addicted to them. Number 3. No need to compete with other men. As you grow older, one of the first things that starts to happen is that you begin to develop a pattern of life. This pattern of life, or routine as you might call it, is often designed to help you survive and eventually reach a point where you can thrive. So essentially, older men have goals set up, and these goals are their only competition. Since older men don't feel the need to engage in competitive endeavors with other men, women see them as being secure and confident in who they are and where they're going. Now, you need to understand that these things are extremely rare, and most men often have some hidden insecurity that makes it to the forefront. Since you don't have to compete with other men, you become a generally likable individual, and women will notice this. Earning this level of respect will be what makes her think about you non-stop. Number 4. Being able to make decisions. This one might seem a little unique to many men, as you might argue that you have to make tons of decisions each and every day. However, being able to make decisions at critical times is what truly aims to set you apart from others, and it will enable you to seem like a dominant person. You see, one of the big things that put many women off is a man who constantly says yes, or the infamous yes man mentality. A woman wants to know that she needs to work hard in order to prove herself to you, and this is where saying no and making decisions that everyone might not like but is in your best interest. This also links to the next point. Number 5. Being respected by others. You see, making decisions isn't only something that affects how women perceive you. In fact, the way you make decisions will be scrutinized by your peers and other men whom you surround yourself with. If you're the one willing to make some of these difficult decisions, those around you will find it extremely respectable. What happens next is that whenever you have a woman, she'll notice that others tend to respect you and you're seen as a valuable part of your friends' lives. This respectable position is something that few men ever get to experience, and no one ends up being the one people rely on among a group of friends. However, those who do might not have the short-term success with women as many bad boys have, but they certainly tend to earn the respect of others around them. Women see this as bringing stability to the table, and this unique trait makes them continuously think about you. Number 6. Not everything is about them. If you look at many younger men, you can quickly realize that most of them are driven by their huge egos. In fact, it's these egos that often drive women away from them, as they continually seem like they have to prove a point. This can be noticed in how younger men always try to correct others and dominate the conversation. Older men have learned that it's often best to keep quiet and listen to others. Now, listening is extremely attractive in a variety of ways, but one of the best places you can see this is in how they allow women to talk about themselves during dates and conversations. Women admire this, and once the date's over, it'll feel like something they've never experienced. This is often what makes them obsess over a specific man, even when the date is concluded. Number 7. Conversations are actually stimulating. Have you ever been in a mind-numbing conversation with someone who only talks about themselves and emotions all the time? Well, many young men haven't experienced life enough to have some wisdom to impart, and this often makes many conversations seem stale off the bat. Older men have some wisdom picked up through life experiences that can easily be imparted to those around them and will also stimulate women. Women rarely have the opportunity to have such a good, stimulating conversation, and when they meet someone who does have the ability, they feel like they need to hold on to them. Number 8. They have resources. This one might cause a little controversy, but whether men like it or not, resources are an extremely important thing when it comes to women. You see, a woman is biologically programmed not to seek excessive resources, but to make sure that the man she chooses has enough resources for a family. This is no fault of younger men, but it does take time to develop this level of resources that women find important. In fact, you'll find that women require far fewer resources than the media likes to portray what they're seeking. However, you must look at the next thing older men do to subtly show they have extra resources. Number 9. Good grooming habits. One of the best ways to show that you have some additional resources once all the basics have been covered is how you go about carrying yourself in everyday situations. You see, successful men are willing to invest some of these resources in how they look and how they dress, which does show they have something extra. Now, you might argue that some of the most successful men on the planet, like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, put virtually no thought into how they dress. However, this level of respect has been earned over many years, and women still desire a man who looks good and successful when he appears in public and doesn't have a name which precedes his appearance. Make sure that you invest in a good cologne, some well-fitted clothing, and even a good haircut. You'll notice your attraction skyrocket and women will fall in love with you while constantly reaching out since they can't stop thinking about you. Number 10. Not responding to everything. As you grow older, you'll learn that you can't throw stones at every dog that barks. This is one of the most important phrases ever uttered by Winston Churchill himself and makes a lot of sense when you grow older. You see, younger men always have a point to prove, and whenever they enter into a spat with a woman, they can very quickly become aggressive, and it might even spill out of control at some point. This is where experience comes in, and many older men simply leave this and allow her to cool down and come to her senses. By not responding, you're showing a woman that you don't care if it works out, and you're focused on improving yourself and reaching your own specific goals. Women immediately realize that they don't have any power over you, and they start wondering how you can go about not responding or even retaliating. This is one of the most powerful things that you can do as a man, and such confusion is what often makes her come back and obsess over you. Number 11. Being themselves. The last one is another one of these complicated things, but you must become somewhat authentic when it comes to the type of person you are. You see, there's already someone else on the planet, and no one wants to date a second-hand version of someone else. Older men have realized over time that being themselves often yields the best possible results, and it also makes women see you for the unique individual you are. With so few men willing to truly stand up for what they believe in life, it's often very attractive when someone is authentic. But aside from being molded through time and experience, older men also pick up on many different social cues and skills that women desire. If you found this video helpful, the next video about the 9 social skills women find attractive in older men will give you even more clarity.